Today I'm going to do my review video of Watkins Shepard Trucking. I was employed there from September 2010 to the end of November 2011. In that time I ran all 48 states. I think I hit all 48 states within my first 6 months. It was a little over 136,000 miles my first year. So I think I ran between 150 and 160,000 miles total for them. I really did enjoy working there. Right from the very beginning when I applied, I filled out the application and got a phone call. I think it was like the very next day. They verified all the information on the application. Told me a little about the company, answered any questions I had. I think it took them like 2 or 3 days to go through and check all my references and do my background check and all that. It went pretty quick through that part, and then they sent me for a physical and a drug test and everything. Then they invited me in for orientation. Orientations is a pretty good experience, especially for you new drivers out there. It's not a quick 2 or 3 day thing like with a lot of the bigger companies. There it's a 10-day orientation where they basically go do like a review of everything you were supposed to have learned in truck driving school, logging, how to read a map, trip planning, going over all the rules and regulations. Then they go through all the safety stuff and Smith system again, company policies and all that good stuff. And then there's going to be some a 3-part road test. They're going to take you up into the mountains. If you're going through orientation in Conover, North Carolina, you're going to go up to Black Mountain, and I'm not sure where they do it for the Missoula, Montana orientation. But either way, you're going to go down a 5% grade, or up and down it. In a loaded truck, they want to see you shift. So if you went through truck driving school and you had one of those uneducated driving instructors that told you never to shift on a mountain, you need to get that out of your head, or they're not going to hire you. Because they are going to make you shift going up and down the grade, just to make sure that you do know how to do it. It's not like a lot of older guys like to tell you. Your truck's not going to go flying down the mountain and you're not going to crash and die. Even though the CDL manual does tell you not to take it out of gear going down in grade, you need to know how to shift if you chose the wrong gear the first time around. And then after that, you're going to do city driving. Basically, they're just going to take you through some pretty tight turns and some 2-lane roads and stuff just to make sure you're good at it. You can handle it. And then after that, there's a backing test on the yard. You just back into a few spots, just parking spots between other trailers or straight back or something like that. And you don't have to be the thing with them is you don't have to be perfect. They understand most people that go there are new drivers, so they will work with you. But if you're not showing improvement or that you're understanding what they're saying, they are going to send you home. Because you need to understand with them, they don't send you out with a trainer like every other company. After orientation, they hand you the keys to your truck and then you're on your own. So they have to, trust that you're going to be able to go out and handle it right on your own from the very beginning. And they are very professional with it. They do a very good job. They put you up in a hotel. You will share a room with another person, which isn't that big of a deal. Like I said, it's only 10 days. And then usually they'll either assign your truck from right there at the terminal, or they'll send you out with another driver if it's at another terminal to go get your truck. The miles over there, for me anyway, were really good. I think my slowest weeks were at 2,500 miles, and my best week was 4,000 miles. I usually averaged around 3,000 or so. The weeks that I did have less miles were the weeks I was doing the LTL runs. And that's where you really make your money at Watkins Shepard, because the stops pay $20 a stop, and the runs can have anywhere from 1 to 25 stops. So if you're doing a 10-stop load, and you can get it off in one day, the stops, that's $200 just in stop pay. So if the first day you run it from the terminal out to the area where you're going to be doing all your stops, you run 600-700 miles, and then the next day you run 100-200 miles, and you do 10 stops, that's 200 and change, probably $250 to $300 just for that one day. of doing all the stops. It adds up really quick. And then for the miles, I mean, as long as you stay proactive and you let your dispatchers know where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, how many hours you're going to have left, and plan your trips, as efficiently as possible, and, don't drag your ass around, and, just try and use your hours wisely and be as efficient as possible. They'll really keep you moving over there. I very, very rarely sat. And when you do sit, in the off chance that you do, like a place that is somewhat common is like Colorado, around the Denver area. Every now and then you might sit or whatever, but they will pay you for it. They pay detention pay and breakdown pay and all that stuff. And they also do pay you for orientation. One thing that is really cool about that is they do understand a lot of people that get into trucking are starting with nothing. So on the first day of orientation, they'll take you down to the truck stop, and you'll get a cash advance. You'll get $100, which isn't really an advance. It's just your first $100 of the orientation pay, and then they'll take you to Walmart, and so you can stock up on food and whatever you need for your hotel. And anytime you need to go to Walmart or whatever, they'll drive you down there. Or if you're up in Missoula, Montana doing your orientation, they do have company cars there you can use. They also have discounts with the hotels in the area near the terminal. So if you happen to break down near one, or you're doing a reset near a terminal and you want to stay at a hotel, you can actually get a really good deal. I never really had any real breakdowns. I had maybe 2 or 3. They were all handled real quick. When you call breakdown, they answer really quick. Some of the other companies I've worked for, you could sit on hold for an hour just to get somebody on the line, and then you still gotta wait for them to come out there and fix it. One thing that is cool about their breakdown department is, instead of you calling them and telling them where you are, and then they do all the work and you don't know what's going on, they actually give you a list of the names and phone numbers of the road service places near you, and they let you call, which gives you the opportunity to not only get the fastest, road service people out there to you, you also know what's going on. When you call road service and they do all the work, you don't know if they've made the call yet, if or when anybody's coming. When you do it, you know, because you've talked to them personally, you know how long it's going to be till they get out there. And you can also, just go down through the list and call them and see how long until they can get somebody out there. But I always just went with the fastest one. A lot of the bigger companies, when they handle all that, they're going to find the cheapest road service place out there, and it's usually the one that's going to take the longest, which doesn't make you any money. When you do breakdown, though, they do give you breakdown pay. Their equipment is well maintained. A lot of their trucks are older than a lot of the bigger companies. So if you want to start out in a brand new truck, Watkins Shepard is probably not the place for you. But if you're looking for a place where you can get good miles and get treated well, that's probably the place you would like to be. They have gotten quite a few newer trucks in the last couple years. They got a whole bunch of T660 Kenworths in, and just recently they bought a bunch of newer Volvos. A lot of the trucks have APUs on them. I think almost all the trucks have bunk heaters. They'll allow you to put power inverters and whatever you want in the trucks. I've seen guys have TVs like mounted to the wall and all kinds of stuff. You can do pretty much whatever you want with the truck, as long as you're not destroying it or doing any real permanent damage to it. The trucks are governed between 65 and 70 miles an hour, depending on the truck you get. They're all Detroits or Cummins. Like I said, they are well maintained, and anytime you do have a problem with your truck or trailer, there's no arguing whether they want to fix it or if they're going to fix it, like with a lot of the bigger companies. All you got to do is tell them that something's wrong with the truck, and they'll get somebody on it. Whether you're at a shop or you have to call road service, whatever, they'll get somebody right out there to fix it. As far as home time, I never had any problem getting home for home time. I was always home on time or early. The cool thing about them is you get 1 day for every 6 days on the road instead of 1 day off for every 7 on the road, like a lot of companies. and they also let you bank your home time. So like when I was driving for them, I would stay out for months at a time sometimes, and I would take 5 to 10 days off instead of like a lot of the bigger companies, like Swift for instance. If you're taking off more than 3 days, you have to clean your truck out and turn it in, and it can take hours. Like when I left Watkins Shepard, it took me 3.5 hours to get all my stuff out of the truck and clean it, and it was clean. It's not like my truck was dirty. Just to get all my stuff out and unhook my CB and all that good stuff and clean the truck, it took a good 3.5 hours. And then if you had to do that to get out of a truck and then get back into a truck every time you want to go home, that's just stupid. And then a lot of the companies, the bigger ones out there, they don't allow you to bank more than 3 or 4 days off at a time, which is stupid because you still earn the days. So if you take them off 2 at a time, or you save them and you take 6 days off in a row, it makes no difference. The truck still sat for the same amount of days, but apparently they don't understand that. But at Watkins Shepard, they do understand that. They'll let you stay out for as long as you want, and then you can bank your home time. I wouldn't try maybe taking 2 weeks off or anything stupid, but I've never had any problem. I think the longest I was off was 15 days, and that wasn't even home time. It was supposed to be 10 days, and like at the end of my 10 days, I ended up getting sick and needing another 5 days off before I was able to drive again. And they didn't have any problem with it. It was no problem to just call us when you're ready to go. As far as parking, they do require that you park the truck at the terminal unless you work out of the Phoenix, Arizona terminal, because it is too small to be parking at. Which they usually try to hire, if I remember correctly, it was if you had to live within like 100 miles of the terminal anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal to drive home. Let's see, they still run paper logs, no e-logs, nothing stupid. They do have Qualcomm. A big plus with them is they pay hub mileage. If you're getting a lot of the I'd say a majority of the trucking companies out there, whether they hire new drivers or experienced drivers, they're paying HHG miles or practical miles or some stupid GPS system miles, and it's not actually what you run. If Watkins Shepard routes you 450 miles to do a run and it takes you 500 miles to do it, they're going to pay you for 500 miles. Other companies, they'll route you 450 miles and they're only going to pay you like 400 miles. And a lot of these other companies, they give you a route and you have to follow it. Like I know if you're more than a couple miles off route with rail, they're going to start blowing your Qualcomm up and your phone up, wanting to know where the hell you're going. At Watkins Shepard, they give you a route. You don't have to follow it as long as you're not adding a ton of miles. Ideally, you should be cutting miles off. As long as you're taking the shortest, fastest route or somewhere close to it, they're not going to complain. If as long as you're not more than like 5 or 10% over your mileage on your runs, they're not really going to say anything about it. Ideally, you want to try and save miles with saving you time and giving you more hours to run more. But I never had a problem with it. And 90% of the time, the route I took was the route they had me on anyway. But there are some times where they route you on some stupid 2-lane when there's a whole lot faster way to get wherever it is you're going. Or the route that they're setting you on isn't going to work with parking. Lots of times there's another route. If you take the route they want you to take, there's the last hour of your 11, there's no place for you to stop. Whereas if you go another way that adds, say, 5 miles, you can run right to the end of your 11 and get you that much closer to wherever it is that you're going. Another thing is like fuel routing. They do give you fuel stops. I think they want you to stop at them like 90 to 95% of the time, and you still get your bonus. But if you do have to fuel somewhere else, your fuel card is going to work. You don't have to call or anything like that to make it work. But they do want you to call like after the fact and let them know, and they'll add it to your fuel routing. So if like on the LTL runs, for instance, lots of times your fuel stop will be in the middle of your day. You don't have time. If you're out there to make money and get the stops off, you don't have time to be sitting at a truck stop in line waiting for fuel. You fuel at the beginning or the end of your day. So in those cases that's when you fuel out a route. You call them, let them know that you didn't have time to stop because you had your stops due. Because most of these furniture places open between 8 and 9 in the morning and close anywhere from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. So you have a small 7 to 9 hour a day window when you're on these LTL runs to get your stops off. So you don't want to be wasting that time dealing with truck stops and fueling. So that's just another good plus there. Another thing is when you're at like a terminal, and like Conover, North Carolina, for instance, if you wanted to go get something to eat, you don't have to call a bunch of people and ask for all kinds of permission. If you want to go up straight to McDonald's, you bobtail up straight to McDonald's. You need to go stock up at Walmart, drive around the corner to Walmart. They're not going to say anything. Again, as long as you're not driving all over the place, putting a ton of miles on, if you're doing 2 or 3 miles up the street, they're not going to complain. They actually do pay for truck washes. For some reason, companies like Knight refuses to pay for truck washes. They do have an account with Blue Beacon. You just go in there, tell them who you work for, and call Watkins Shepard. They'll give you their little account code or whatever. You give it to them, and there you go. They'll wash your truck. The benefits were pretty good. I mean, as far as trucking company insurance goes, it was on the better side. The pay for new drivers, it does start at 25 cents a mile, but you have to look at the miles you're getting. You're going to drive a whole lot more miles than with other companies. The fact that you're getting paid hub miles versus any of the little stupid ways other companies go about to screw you out of your miles, you're actually getting all your miles. I've worked for companies that run off PC Miler miles and HHG miles, and you usually, for every 1,000 miles you drive, you're only going to get paid for like 900 of it. Whereas when you run on hub miles, you're going to get paid for every single mile, and those miles do add up quick. And then with the 25 cents a mile, there's like 3 or 4 raises your first year. You're at 32 cents a mile by the end of your first year. So don't let the low 25 cent per mile, I think it's the first 90 days or something, don't let that keep you from going there. You got to look at the bigger picture. If you go back and check out my first review, you'll see all the details from that year more specifically. I don't have all the numbers in front of me. But my first year, I made $46,000 and change, and I drove 136,000 and change miles. That's really good for a first year over the road. And they couldn't recognize local experience. So I started at the 25 cent per mile. So right out of truck driving school, you can easily, if you were to run hard enough, make $50,000 your first year. Especially if you do the LTL. I ran really hard and I stayed out quite a bit, but when I would take my home time off, I would take my home time. So I probably could have run another, 10,000 miles or so that first year. And then I also tried to stay, I liked to run west more because I wasn't an East Coast regional driver, so I didn't have to stay on the East Coast running the LTL. I like getting out and around doing the longer runs. If I had stayed on the East Coast or stayed with the LTL runs just out and back like a lot of the guys do, that would have been a whole lot more money there too. Like I said, those $20 stops add up quick. It doesn't matter whether you're delivering a little tiny box the size of a shoebox or you're delivering a whole trailer load of furniture. It's still $20. And your average stop is about 10 pieces of furniture and takes less than 15 minutes to do. So I mean, if you think about it that way, it's $20 for 15 minutes worth of work. And lots of times those stops are grouped together in cities like I know on like the Texas runs and stuff, and like Dallas and Houston and Laredo. In each of the cities, there could be like 5 to 10 stops in that one city. So I mean, in one day you can hit 10 to 12 stops if they're real close together, and still log a couple hundred miles. And that's a lot of money right there. They also have a flatbed division. They run flatbeds and step decks. They won't take you on it right away. You have to be with the company, I think, like 6 months or something like that, and there is a short waiting list to get in. They also do hire owner-operators as well. I've met a lot of drivers over there that have been there for a long time and are quite happy with it. I've met a lot of very happy owner-operators over there, and I've talked to quite a few of the guys on the flatbed side, and they seem to like it over there as well. Another thing they do offer is teams and 3-man teams. The regular teams are pretty self-explanatory, 2 people in a truck, and they do run very hard. They do a lot of terminal-to-terminal stuff, so there's no waiting around at customers. Almost everything's drop and hook. They do keep them moving real good, which means a lot of money. And they also run they have 3-man teams, which is still only 2 guys in a truck, but it's like a home time type of plan. You go out for 2 weeks, and then one of the guys gets out of the truck for a week, and then you pick up the other guy, and you go out for 2 more weeks, or a week, or however it works like that. But you're out 2 weeks, you're in your home a week. So it's 2 weeks out, 1 week home. So 14 out, 7 home, and then you just keep rotating the people out. I don't know how many guys run it. I've never met anybody that runs on the 3-man teams, but they do offer it. If you do go to their website, it says that they have a truck driving school. Their website hasn't been updated in years, or at least last time I checked. They no longer have the school. They did close that. But the numbers on the as far as pay and the pay per mile and all that information is still true. As it actually says on the website, I believe it was $46,000 and change, which is what I made first year. So it was right on with that. So I highly recommend Watkins Shepard trucking to anybody, whether you're a new driver or an experienced driver, an owner-operator, flatbedder, whatever. I was quite happy working there. The only reason why I left is because I wanted to try and get into open deck, and I wanted to do more oversized and specialized stuff. So I left to go over to Lone Star Transportation. But if it hadn't been for that, I was actually on the list to get into the flatbed division, but I wanted to do it a little sooner rather than waiting, so that is why I left. But other than that, I was very happy there. They kept me moving. I made a lot of money. I got home when I wanted to. So I think that's about it. Like I said, I was very, very happy at Watkins Shepard. I would recommend them to anybody, whether you're a new driver, an experienced driver, an owner-operator, flatbedder. They do have a little bit of everything for everybody. I was very happy. I would highly recommend it to anybody. Thanks for watching.